always know where to go. You will always keep my heart and soul strong.
Brainy the cat. Brainy the RPG cat. It's a kitty cat.
Hello, cats and kittens, felines and felidae, humans and variant humans, and every race, class, and subclass. Welcome to another edition of Brainy the RPG Cat. Tonight we're doing tabletop lore, and this is the beginning of a new era for tabletop lore. This is a new paradigm for tabletop lore. This is a new, interesting word meaning significant amount of change for tabletop lore. OS Devon says, hey, hello, OS Devon. Thank you once again for tuning in. So, the very last episode that we did was a promotional episode, which, you know, by itself, that's already very exciting, is that where we were promoting the Will of the Worlds Kickstarter, the newest module for Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition, which is also the tabletop engine that we are going to be using for that we're going to be using for one shots from the Meowing Portal. Queen Vampiress says hi, Brainy the RPG Cat. So hello, Queen Vampiress. Thank you very much for tuning in. I almost said Tales from the Meowing Portal again. It hasn't been named that for a very long time now. But anyways, thank you once again, everybody, for tuning in, as usual, and also as Queen Vampiress was kind enough to point out. Be sure to check out our partnership with GreatMedia.Games for inexpensive TCG single cards. Visit GreatMedia.Games and use the code 10Finity at checkout for 10% off your online purchase. Also consider contributing to our Throne and our Ko-fi pages, and so I was actually in the middle of changing the chat title, and I don't think that's actually happened yet. So anyways, tonight's stream is new and exciting and different because for the very first time, we're putting our money where our mouth is in this channel, and we are going to support the whole great big open world of tabletop role-playing games. Because, you know, after a significant amount of fallout from a certain company, a subsidiary of Hasbro, we found ourselves in a position where more people were getting significantly interested in independently published models for 5e. And so it just so happened that, you know, approximately around the same time, Humble Bundle released a very large package of Dungeons and Dragons 5e adjacent independently written material. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to have a look at some of that. And, we've got enough material to, you know, just do like a year's worth of shows. And we're going to look at one of the very first modules. This one is called the Brain Eater's, this is called the Brain Gorger's Appetite. And so we're going to get a little bit more in depth into that in just a moment. See, what did I accidentally turn on? Yeah, thank you very much. So, I think you said, I hope you're doing a great day in chat. Of course, I'm doing a great day in chat. I am here with you wonderful people. And I just got hit by a chick. Let's see here. I don't even know where I put this. But, anyways, I guess I was just going to stay on at the moment because I don't know how to turn it off. But let's go over to the main screen and let's start looking at the Brain Gorger's Appetite. All right, folks. So, pretty sure that I had the window open at the moment. So, starting once again, I'm going to give you the in-depth pitch for Well of the Worlds because it means something. It is important. Andrea, unhappy is the land that has no heroes, while Galileo says, unhappy is the land that needs heroes. From the Life of Galileo. Welcome to the Well where the Bermuda Triangle ends. The Well of the Worlds is a campaign setting for the Prowlers and Paragons TTRPG, meant to evoke the feel of Japanese isekai and Western portal fantasy tales. As with many classic examples of the genre, much of a player's and character's experiences during a session will come from exploring the Well. As the campaign progresses, they will learn more about the Well's peculiar climate, discover strange ruins, wonder at the unusual sky, and meet numerous people who are definitely not from Earth. And as is the case with many of these stories, the characters slowly discover that they have strange and unusual powers in this new world, and that this peaceful paradise holds a dark secret. As the setting subtitle says, this is where the Bermuda Triangle ends. Prowlers and Paragon is everything you need to create unique superheroes and play exciting stories right out of the comic books and movies. There are countless powers and power options, extensive rules for gear, vehicles, and even headquarters, a massive assortment of animals and non-player characters, and extensive guidance to help game masters run the most engaging superheroes games possible. Prowlers and Paragon's Ultimate Edition is super flexible with easy, intuitive game mechanics, but still contains enough crunch to keep every character from feeling the same. Character creation is fast, fun, and allows for just about any concept that you can come up with. And what is the Well? Imagine a world where the weather is perfect day in and day out, where it seems to be perpetually midsummer with no rainy season or periods of drought to interrupt the endless pleasant days, where the sun always rises at the same time and in the same place, and sets 14 hours later, where crops can be grown year-round, meaning everyone has enough to eat without the lean periods of plague that plague less fortunate worlds. There are multiple humanoid people dwelling for the most part in harmony. Can you imagine such a world? Good, then welcome to Well of the Worlds, designed as a standalone pocket universe. The Well was originally connected to assorted alternate dimensions and worlds throughout the multiverse. It's from these worlds that the park's intended visitors originally came. Currently, the Well is still connected to a multitude of other universes, but the connections are unstable and tend to drift and or open erratically. In addition, the Well is, by its very nature, prone to collect errant hyperspace jaunts, teleportation errors, lost dimensional portals, and the like. Think of it this way. The Well of the World sits at the bottom of the multiverse, slowly collecting all the interdimensional detritus that drifts down through the verse, eventually fetching within the Well itself. Well of the Worlds, written by Michael Serbrook from Rem Alternatives Productions and published by Mobius Worlds Publishing. Be sure to follow the Kickstarter by typing !WOTW in chat, or just going to tinyurl.com/welloftheworlds and sign up for the mailing list. Pretty soon the Kickstarter is going to be launching. It's going to be launching on April the 4th. So be sure to be on the mailing list so you receive an email telling you when the module is going to be released. Alrighty, so I'll take a moment to type that into chat. WOTW. Alright. So, something else that we should do is that, slightly before we start reading the book, I had intended to do this at the beginning. Let's go to DriveThruRPG, and let's put up a purchase link for the Brain Gorger's Appetite. Alright. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and I will post this link in chat. So anybody who is interested in picking up the book will be able to get it from a link in the chat room. So. All right. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, pin that message. Okie dokie. Here, you're about to pull out chat a bit. I'm pinned at the end of the string. Okay. There we are. Okay, so without any further fanfare, let's go ahead and let's start looking at The Brain Gorger's Appetite, written by Alex Kammer. I understand that, comes with a logo from Gamehold Publishing. Gamehold Publishing, I don't believe necessarily is a publishing outlet, but I do believe is a convention that regularly comes out of, I should have written that down. But anyways, it is a convention in the United States, and they do regularly put modules that are unique independent modules for 5e. And as I had stated before, the majority of these books come from a humble bundle that I recently purchased. I know that sometime in the very near future, it really is just going to only be available as individual volumes in Drive-Thru RPG, which is why I'm posting the Drive-Thru RPG links. So, The Brain Gorger's Appetite Gamehold Publishing Module 8K1, an adventure for 4 to 6 characters of levels 1 to 3 by Alex Kammer. Author Alex Kammer, cover artist Dan Francis, interior illustrators Meg Johnson, Terry Pavlett, Jason Braun, Lloyd Metcalf, cartographers Dan Francis and Benoit Poirier. It's entirely French. Chief editor Scott Fitzgerald Gray, co-editors Mike Mihalis and Andrew Hitchcock, proofreading by Kelly Leishes, playtesting by Cindy Whitehead, Julie Ujazowski, Robert Ujazowski, David Spahn, Scott Worm, Tony Park, Kevin Turner, Nick Woods, Tim Verning, Mark Adelhock, Scott Peterson, Alan Hammock, Walter Janing, Andy Rubarth, Jeff Emery, and Stephen Muchow. So, this is a really great looking book. I mean, this is what I call the tabletop's tabletop. Something wherein all of the interior art is published in black and white, so it would actually be very easy in order to photocopy and also to run through your printer if you actually just wanted a physical copy of the book. I mean, it's just a slightly more inexpensive way in order to make copies of and share the book. Of course, here on this channel, we always do advocate for the independent publishers, and we do encourage you to actually buy the modules. But, it is certainly a way to illustrate one's interest in the ability for tabletop books to be free and independent. E-readers as well, yeah. If you actually happen to gather up a bunch of PDFs on mobile, then you can absolutely read all of these on your e-reader on the go, maybe while you're doing your morning commute on the train. So, if you have a black and white reader like I do, prints that are made from the ground up for black and white look best. Yeah, that's absolutely true. So, I have an e-reader that's probably not much more than an Android tablet, so I guess even that, wouldn't make that much of a difference with me. But I digress. Introduction. The town of Acne's Hold is not a spectacularly cosmopolitan place. a modest settlement sitting aside the Oriana River. It is the seat of the Barony of Ron. The barony is not much of a place in its own right, located far away from major population centers and featuring an unending string of rural hamlets and villages. Beyond purely agrarian pursuits, the barony of Ra is known primarily for the Copper Hills, so named for the plentiful veins of copper ore that have been extracted from them for generations. While copper mining has historically been the mainstay of the barony and its seat in the Agnes Hold, it was the discovery of azurite that first brought a measure of affluence to the area. A soft, deep blue copper mineral, azurite is a semi-precious stone produced by weathering copper ore deposits. Mining copper and azurite are easily shipped from Ron to the more populous lands on the south of the gentle Oriana River, and a broad array of finished goods are caravanned into the barony along with various overlord trading routes. I accidentally just pressed the right arrow key and then it just pushed me directly to the next page. Although Baron Oliver Renson has never been accused of being an inspired leader, the local government he controls has long been judged fair and competent until recently. For reasons quite unknown to the local populace, the formerly stable and somewhat lazy Baron began to act erratically 6 months ago, suddenly replacing long-standing officials and advisors with foreigners just as precipitously. Chamberlain Andre Bryce, a fellow whose primary responsibilities were overseeing the Baron's household, have taken on a much more prominent role in the day-to-day operation of the barony. At the same time, the Baron appears to have abandoned his former preoccupation with hunting and revelry for brooding silence and a more direct involvement in the governance of the barony. The former captain of the guard of Agnes Hold has been replaced by a mean-spirited half-orc, while the long-standing overseer of the mines was suddenly dismissed and replaced with a wild-looking dwarf from parts unknown. All these events have dramatically changed the formerly placid mood of Agnes Hold. The tax collectors have become more aggressive. Virtually all visitors to the town are now searched upon entry. The prices of basic commodities have risen. Even the fleas in the orc's eye, the seediest of the town's inns, seem to bite a bit harder. One of the very few of the old guard who has managed to retain his position and some measure of influence is High Steward Braxton Tavares. Determined to find out what's going on with the Baron, he seeks to hire a group of brave, capable, and discreet adventurers to try to get to the bottom of recent events and to determine what's behind the changes of the barony's power structure. This adventure is designed for 4 to 6 characters of levels 1 to 3. That was also on the cover of the book. Characters should be at first level at the start and will likely attain second level after completing the first half of Act 4. 4A, the break. They then should attain third level before attempting the final encounter in Act 7 of an adventure. If you prefer a story-based advancement in your campaigns, use the above guidelines to tell the players when to advance to their characters to second and third level. Okay. Adventure Summary. If you're a player, stop reading. The rest of this adventure is for DMs only. Okay, so since that, this is mostly just going to be a straightforward campaign. I'm going to do my level best not to give away absolutely everything, paying particular attention to the maps and the actual dungeons outcome, but I'm still going to read as much as I possibly can as far as the lore and the backstory is concerned. And that's what we do here on Tabletop Lore. We want to give you a very good impression of the book, and if you are encouraged to actually use it, we still want you to have a vested interest in the game mechanics once you actually get to them. Alright. The Ceaseless is a syndicate composed of a large number of criminals who operate a wide variety of schemes and ventures in countless settlements across Ron and the wider world. They are subtle, powerful, and well organized. A recent discovery made quite by accident revealed that refined and powdered azurite produces a profoundly euphoric experience for the strange and dangerous creatures known as brain gorgers. See new monsters at the end of the adventure. The Ceaseless immediately sought to obtain a regular source of the semi-precious stone in order to establish a profitable supply network to distribute this unusual narcotic to the great brain gorger cities in the deep dark. The brain gorgers call the deep blue powder tasties. Much to the delight of the agents of the ceaseless, tasties has proven to be highly addictive, not only to brain gorgers, but to other reprehensible species that share similar biology. Because Agni's Hold is a well established producer of azurite, the ceaseless syndicate dispatched a minor lieutenant, a brain gorger named Marlip, to the settlement. Marlip's job was to set up a simple criminal operation, purchasing a small but steady supply of refined azurite powder without attracting any notice. The powder would then be distributed throughout any of the many ceaseless agents operating in the strongholds and the settlements of the Deep Dark. After setting up a base of operations in one of the mines found throughout the Copper Mill Hills, Marlip went to work. He first had a mines overseer replaced with a ceaseless operative, a dwarf named Thig Delver, in order to ensure that he could operate in the mines securely and without notice. Most of Marlip's efforts have been focused on the copper ore sent to Agni's Hold for refining, a more rare and an alchemical process that transforms the common ore into the more rare and valuable azurite. By discreetly employing his powerful psionic abilities, as well as executing a few well-placed bribes, Marlip has been able to ensure that a portion of the refined azurite is now secretly returned to the mine to be stored for eventual distribution to the Deep Dark. Everything was going swimmingly at first, as Marlip was able to establish a steady return supply of refined azurite to his subterranean stronghold, until one day, unable to contain his curiosity any longer, he tried some of the tasties himself. The resulting sense of euphoric well-being was so powerful and overwhelming that Marlip simply had to have more. The more he consumed, the more erratic his thinking and actions became. Marlip's first misstep was to alter the amount of refined and powdered azurite shipped as instructed. As his addiction deepened, he decided he would be better served if he kept more for himself. The increasingly lighter shipments of azurite have caused concerns among the ceaseless leadership, which in turn has triggered corrective action on the part of the syndicate. The Mind Gorger's second drug-induced misstep was convincing himself that his careful and secretive supply chain was in danger of becoming insufficient for his needs. With his thinking compromised, he concluded that bolder action was warranted to protect his operation, causing him to intervene in the affairs of Agni's Hold. Hiding his monster identity with disguised self and invisibility, Marlip was able to get close enough to the Baron to use his enslave ability, seizing control of the rulers with his powers of mind control. The Brain Gorger then engineered the replacement of Chamberlain Bryce with a doppelganger named Bryland, and replaced many of the Baron's advisors with flunkies of his choosing. The only remaining standing advisor from the Baron's original cabinet is High Steward Tavros. Knowing that something is very wrong but unaware of the source or the scope of the threat, Tavros is desperate to get to the bottom of what is rotten in Agni's Hold. The adventurers are charged with investigating the cause of the shakeup. As they delve deeper into the truth of the larger conspiracy by following clues and leads, they face a series of challenges and confrontations, culminating in a clash with Marlip and his minions deep in the Copperhill mines. Important NPCs: Baron Oliver Renson, hereditary ruler of Agni's Hold; Baroness Hilda Renson, the Baron's wife; Chamberlain Andre Bryce, replaced by the doppelganger Bryland, who is now the Baron's primary advisor; High Steward Braxton Tavros, the only remaining loyal member of the Baron's cabinet. He is the party's contact in the government. Marlip, a brain gorger sent by the Ceaseless to oversee the azurite delivery, who has become addicted to the narcotic and run afoul of the syndicate. Mance, the half-orc Ceaseless operative, dominated by Marlip, who runs the azurite refinery, known as the Brick. You know, because in my own RPG, I tend to call one of the areas the Bricks District. Well, it's good to know that I'm not the only tabletop RPG writer has thought of that. Zunthan Tez, a drow ceaseless operative sent to investigate the problems with azurite delivery; Theg Delver, the new dwarf overseer of the Copper Hills mines; and Dras Grimbrack, the half-orc captain of the Agni's Helltown Guard. Okay, so adventure starts. So yeah, I think I can read through this because the significance of this is just going to be made up of side quests. The party can be made up of local adventurers, heroes from neighboring lands, stalwarts from parts unknown, or any combination of these. Wherever they are from, the characters find themselves in Ocni's hold looking for work. If it suits your purposes, the player characters can interact with any of the adventurers' NPCs before getting into the adventure proper. The Gazetteer section at the end of the adventure has information on Ocni's hold and many of its best-known shops and residents. The NPCs, the characters, should generally be disgruntled at how the town is being run, with the overall opinion being that things have gone to pot. Beyond this, the player should get a strong sense of the area's reliance on the copper mining trade, and how the flow of ore from the Copper Hills seems to have become erratic as of late. This is simply local rumor and gossip, and none of the NPCs can provide any specific information. Job opportunities. Players looking for work can ask around town, but the uncertainty the townfolk are feeling means that new jobs are scarce. However, one of the NPCs the characters meet can point them towards an employment opportunity with Milton, a low-level clerk working with the Baron, and a nephew to High Steward Severus. Let me see. If you don't want to begin the adventure with character-driven role player, you can read or paraphrase the following to begin. So, yeah, there are just kind of gray boxed areas that you're supposed to specifically read as the NPCs. You find yourself in the backwater town of Ocni's Hold, a place not much known for its copper mining and not much else. Many trading caravans frequent the area as a result of its mining wealth. However, and you are hoping to sign on as a caravan guard. Along with a bunch of other hopeful would-be guards, you're sitting in a rough wooden bench at Zan's Trading Emporium. The mood in the room is anxious as you all wait to hear if you've been hired. One rough-looking fellow approaches the barred window where a tired clerk has been repeatedly telling all to wait their turn. The stranger immediately begins to lay into the clerk, demanding to speak with Zan immediately. As his face reddens to match his rising tone, an older and angry-looking human wearing a battered cap and sporting a week's worth of facial hair pushes in front of the clerk, pressing his face close to the bars as he shouts, "Look here, you worthless lout. We have everyone we need, now get out of my shop." With that, the angry applicant turns on his heel and stomps out of the store, muttering under his breath. Many of the others of the room start to shuffle out as well. So, skip a couple of pairs of instructions because they just kind of, over-describe some of the DM action. So, read the following when you want to point them towards a meeting with Milton. You seem like a decent enough sort, so I'll share some of the scuttlebutt I heard. An under-clerk with the Baron, a guy named Milton, has been nosing around looking to hire a group for some kind of investigation work. I don't know more than that, but if you're interested, Milton should be easy enough to find if you ask at the keep. The Baron's Keep at the seat of the Barony of Round, known locally as the Central Keep for its location near the center of Ocni's Hold. Once at the keep, the characters can easily seek out Milton by asking any passing guard or servant. When Milton meets with them, they find him to be mild-mannered and nervous bureaucrat who does little more than take the characters' names and ask about their previous job experience. He then tells them to meet with High Steward Tavros 2 hours after sunset in a tavern known as the Orc's Eye. Tavros will be sitting by himself. The characters can identify him by the dark blue cap he wears. Milton then admonishes the adventurers that they are to be discreet and to tell no one of this meeting. He can offer no information about the job, saying that only the High Steward will explain everything. Act 1, the Orc's Eye. The party should arrive at or near the appointed hour. As the characters approach, read or paraphrase the following. The exterior of the Orc's Eye is undeniably shabby, establishing low expectations for the interior. Amazingly, that interior exceeds those low expectations in terms of filth, atmosphere, and the quality of the clientele. The squat two-story structure looks as though a good shove might push it into the nearby river. Inside, a cramped common room is filled with mismatched and shoddily repaired furniture, dirty dock workers, and miners. The air hangs with a greasy and cloying smoke, cut by dim light produced by a series of lamps burning what must be some sort of animal fat. Despite the obviously unsavory conditions, the tavern does a brisk business, and most of its tables are filled. A heavily scarred and none too bright-looking half-orc sits at a stool near the door. After eyeing you suspiciously, he quickly goes back to examining some wound on his left hand. as if the intensity of his scrutiny alone might heal it. The tables are being served by a tired-looking and bedraggled human woman in her late middle years, as well as a halfling lass who seems to know everyone, as she nimbly deposits drink and fare at various tables. Another halfling, the one male, is tending the mostly full bar, while simultaneously keeping an eye on everyone and everything. A quick scan in the room reveals a human in a dark blue cap sitting alone in a large booth in the back of the common room. Although he's obviously trying to be inconspicuous, the quality of his clothing marks him as an outsider. You notice several of the patrons shooting glances at his way, some of them curious, others calculating. Baron Tavaxis is a middle-aged human with even features and a prominent widow's peak. His dark hair is shot through with gray. The High Steward wears plain clothing, and that is obviously well made. Though he is otherwise alert, the pinched look of his face marks him as one bearing some sort of strain or fatigue. Let me see. Okay, so I'll skip this paragraph because, yeah, it definitely is character action. The Barony of Ron is a hereditary aristocracy. Baron Reinson was the only male issue of the previous Baron and is married to Baroness Helda. Though currently childless, the Baron and the Baroness are still young, so there is great hope that an heir will be forthcoming. Overall, Baron Reinson has been a decent and fair ruler, despite being largely indifferent to the day-to-day details of governance. Since ascending to the barony, he has relied heavily on his counselors to manage the affairs of the barony and Agni's hold. About 6 months ago, for reasons still unknown, Baron Reinson seemed to transform into a bitter and paranoid figure overnight. He has increasingly seized control of more than the minute details of governance and has done a poor job of it. Many of his decisions seem arbitrary, if not downright mean-spirited. The Baron has become particularly focused on the copper ore and the azurite trade. He increasingly demands precise counts of quantities delivered and taxes raised therefrom. Previously, he kept his distance from all the details of the regional mining operations. Reinson has dismissed many of his previous counselors, replacing them with filing yes-men who seem to do nothing but take advantage of their new positions. These replacements are almost all foreigners who know nothing of proper governance and who don't bother to even pretend to care about the well-being of the barony. The Baron has even dismissed the town's captain of the guard and the overseer of the mines, both of whom have been replaced. The only other remaining high-level counselor left is Chamberlain Andre Bryce. However, he seems changed as well. Although Tavares was always found Bryce to be a cheerful fellow, as well as a careful and thoughtful advisor, the Chamberlain has become increasingly terse and uncaring in recent months. Bryce is clearly the Baron's current favorite. When Tavares has a sense that the adventurers can offer the skills and discretion he seeks, he confides to them that they are not the first people he has spoken to them about helping him with his as-of-yet unnamed problem. He expresses his need for a group he can trust as he shares additional information. Okay, let's move a little bit past there. Tavares is something of a dandy, and he finds violence and the whole concept of adventuring is as distasteful as it is dangerous. As a High Steward, he is clearly dedicated to the law. However, with obvious discomfort, he exhorts the party to take whatever steps are necessary in order to help him save the barony. Okay, the wisdom check. Act 2, the Baron's Keep. With Tavares' aid, the adventurers are ensconced in the keep, where some of them can be assigned as members of the Baron's personal guard. Separate from the town guard, the Baron maintains a personal garrison whose duties are focused on protecting the Baron and his family within the keep. I like that art too. Yeah, they did a pretty good job. Signature PAV. I already read all of the names at the top of the class. I can't remember what PAV would have stood for. The force of 20 warriors has historically been known as the Baron's Men, although its members are both men and women. The leaders of the Baron's Guard is a no-nonsense warrior named Shell Tumbrel, female human fighter, level 5, Outlander background. Members of the Guard are easily spotted with tabards of bright blue, a color that dominates the interior of the keep. These tabards bear the Renson family crest, a chunk of azurite. Though having the party members all serve as guards might be the easiest for you to manage, some adventurers might want to take up other positions at the keep, including working as servants. No one is more invisible in high society than a servant, and taking on that role potentially gives characters wide latitude for exploring the keep. The first mate of the keep is Brianna Wells, a kindly middle-aged woman who runs the household with efficiency and dedication. She is a trusted servant of the High Steward Tavros. Working in the library is an option as well. Though not boasting a large collection, the library has been a point of pride for the Rainson family for ages, and each successive generation has sought to add works to their family collection. Not surprisingly, the mainstay of the collection is a comprehensive set of treatises on mining, but a respectable survey on any subject can be found within the library stacks. The curator of the library is a formal and elderly scholar named Tarn Brillamp, male human wizard level 2 sage background. Some of the characters might even wish to maintain their cover while in the keep or maintain residences outside it. Likewise, servants are forced not to live within the keep, and the characters can decide to reside in town if they wish. However, the question of how a servant or guard can afford to stay at the inn is one that the characters should seek to avoid. Watching and waiting. Once they join the ranks of the staff in the keep, the characters have their shift scheduled along with all the other servants and guards, while working characters have the chance to observe Baroness Haida Rainson and to see the Baron in close counsel with his advisors, as well as an open position as he hears citizens set forth grievances and requests. Characters who make an effort to observe the Baron and Baroness can make the following general observations, and I'm just going to skip all of that. The manner in which these observations and interactions take place is dependent on the character's actions and on what general suspicions might have arisen from their conversations with NPCs in town and the High Steward Tavros, in addition to the general information above to be gathered through role-playing. A number of specific encounters occur as the players pursue their investigation. These encounters don't have to be run in any particular order, and not all the encounters have to occur. As always, adapt these encounters and create new ones as necessary in order to fit the adventurer's actions. Alright, Act 3, Trouble for the Baroness. However the characters seek to undertake their investigation, they very quickly learn that the Rainson household is not a happy one. The personality changes in the Baron have not gone unnoticed by Baroness Helda. Her husband's increasingly withdrawn and disengaged state has proven greatly upsetting to the spirited Baroness. Even the most casual surveillance attempts bears witness to screaming bouts, wherein the Baroness's mounting frustration inspires her to upbraid the taciturn Baron. However, such confrontations rarely provoke any response besides an occasional grunt. This dynamic has the entire household on edge, and has finally started to annoy the Baron's puppet master, Marlip. The cruel and crazed brain Gorger has thus taken steps to see the Baroness removed, by having her jewelry coffer replaced with a reduced-size hungry mimic. The royal quarters of the keep are fronted by a receiving and sitting room containing a fireplace and comfortable furniture, designed for receiving the more familiar guests of the royal couple. Beyond this stands a short hall leading to the royal dressing room, featuring separate freestanding wardrobes, closets, and dressing tables for the Baron and Baroness. An elaborate set of double doors that lead to the royal bedchamber. The mimic attack takes place within the royal dressing room. The players are alerted to the fact that something is missed by the Baroness's hysterical screams. In the likely event that at least some of the adventurers agree to take the royal guards, those characters are on duty outside the dressing room at the start of the encounter. You can arrange for other characters to be nearby, according to their roles in the keep. Guard characters should be the first into the encounter, with other characters taking a few rounds to arrive in order to increase the challenge. Let's see. Because of the frequent yelling bouts between the Baroness and the Baron, any other servants in the area are reluctant to investigate. When the characters burst into the dressing room, they find the Baroness's maid Sylvia already slain. Her lifeless hands clutch the Baroness's necklace, which she was seeking to put back in the coffer when the reduced-sized mimic struck. The Baroness has backed away into a corner, and screaming incoherently, the characters need to work quickly to save her. When the characters successfully deal with the mimic and save the Baroness, they find they're understandably unhinged by the attack. She proves difficult to calm, and is capable of only uttering short fragmented statements about the monster. She has no useful information for the characters, though if anyone mentions the Baron, they can confirm her anger and frustration towards her, delivered in the same fragmented style. Okay, so treasure paragraph. Let me see. In the aftermath of the fight, the characters are likely to pose the obvious question: how did the mimic get in here? The answer is Marlip's doppelganger servant, who is currently impersonating Chamberlain Bryce. So skip all of that because that's basically specifically how that was to happen. Okay, Act 4, Chamberlain Bryce. Because the characters were tipped off that Chamberlain Bryce has been acting strange recently, one might choose to monitor him. Whether the characters observe him while undertaking their duties in the keep, they find him to be short on words and always bearing a fixed expression of mildly hostile indifference. Bryce is a middle-aged human, balding and a bit on the plump side. He works out of offices in the keep that are locked at night and staffed by a secretary, a young woman named Tamara, during the day. The offices consist of an outer chamber where Tamara works that acts as a reception area, and an inner chamber that is Chamberlain Bryce's office. Opening the locked office requires dexterity saves. Characters who gain access to the office find it ornate and well appointed, though it is somewhat sterile and unused feel about it. The desk is immaculately tidy and contains mundane ledgers and records concerning the running of the keep. All the records are kept in a neat hand, but are current only to approximately 6 months before when Brylan took place at the real price. Getting close to the Chamberlain. If the adventurers try to approach Bryce, he briskly ignores them, muttering about important matters as he slacks off. Any formal questions with meanings to the Chamberlain go unanswered. If the characters attempt to follow Bryce outside the keep, they can succeed in doing so unnoticed if they take any reasonable precautions. The Chamberlain makes 2 stops while being followed at the refinery known as the Brick and in his home. The encounters set forth below, adjusting counters as necessary. The Brick, 4A. It is full dark by the time Chamberlain Bryce makes his way to the refinery, despite the fact that all work for the day should be done and all the workers have gone home. As the characters approach the Brick, please read or paraphrase the following. I see that I have temporarily gone hypnotic. So, yeah, took things, kind of in a stiff manner for a moment there. Well, it's been a while since I actually had camera problems. I guess my luck just finally done run out. Alright. All good? No, not quite. I feel as though my camera has just decided to bite the dust, but at any rate, the show must go on. The squat 2-story structure sits perpendicular to the river, looking more like a weathered natural formation than anything deliberately constructed. Its stonework is pitted and weathered, and the corners of the building seem almost rounded, attesting to age. The air in the immediate vicinity smells and even tastes of sulfur. While not caustic enough to cause actual distress, the acrid air makes your eyes water and your nostrils burn. Several plumes of colored smoke rise off the top of the building from unseen vents or chimneys. Even from a distance, you can hear the regularly splashing cadence of the regular splashing cadence I completely lost the sentence. A large set of double doors in the building's west side and carts carrying ore and a finished product. Another single door stands on the south wall, and a row of narrow windows approximately 25 feet off the ground runs along all four sides of the building, scorching hot and thick with whatever vapors are belching from the top of the building. Within the reek, a row of carts runs from west to east, along the center of the floor away from the river. On either side of those carts, there stand two massive forges. Piles of what must be raw copper ore are heaped alongside large squat containers full of some sort of black powdered substance. Vats and workbenches are arrayed along the east side of the building. Over the gentle whooshing of the still burning but inactive forces, you make out the sound of a loud voice coming from the southeast corner of the building. As the characters watch, Bryce produces a key and lets himself through the single side door with any sort of preamble, then locks the door behind him. If the characters discover the door and enter that way, then you can skip to the back office section. If the characters enter through the side door, through the main door, then you can paraphrase the following. Stepping across the threshold into the refinery, you're immediately hit by a blast of heat and noxious fumes. The air outside the building is scorching. Oh, I think I accidentally put two NPC boxes together. Okay, so this was actually the description of the forge. It wasn't this a description of the second half of the refinery. Stepping across the threshold into the refinery, you're immediately hit by a blast of heat and noxious fumes. The air inside the building is scorching hot and thick with whatever vapors are belching from the top of the building. Within that reek, a row of carts runs from west to east along the center of the floor away from the river. On either side of those carts, there stand two massive forges. Piles of what must be raw copper are heaped along large squat containers full of some sort of black powdered substance. Vats and workbenches are arranged along the east side of the building. Over the gentle whooshing of the still burning but inactive forges, you can make out the sound of a loud voice coming from the southeast corner of the building. The entire area is lightly obscured because of the vapors present. The bins of black powder are filled with crushed charcoal, while the vats contain acid, both key components of the process that refines copper ore to azurite. The forges are lit and quite hot. Any creature that starts a turn with contact on a forge or that comes into contact with the forge for the first time on this turn will do 6d6 fire damage. Alright. The back office. Okay, Bryce has already come and gone by the time the characters enter the refinery, having had a quick meeting, then slipping out through a secret door. The rough voice heard coming from the building's back office is Mance, the half-overseer of the refinery, who is in the pay and the service of Marlip. Two human assistants back him up and are currently taking the brunt of his rage towards Bryce. So that is PC instructions. Read the following once the characters are in a position to hear Mance. Every day that worm comes here to check up on us, the rough voice growls. Says he's doing the master's bidding. Well, he can tell the master the same thing I told him yesterday and the day before that. Everything is fine. This week's shipment came in from the hills, and all the shipments are going out on schedule. But he'll be back tomorrow to check again. Of course he will. The office contains only an old desk, a table, 4 chairs, and an old cabinet. The cabinet and desk are filled with shipping manifests, bills of lading, and the like, all related to the process of taking an ore, refining it, and then spilling the azurite out. The secret door is much easier to discover from the inside of the building. Okay, refinery fight. If the characters successfully advance to the back office without being seen, they catch Mance and his assistants by surprise. Alternatively, at any point when the characters can be seen by Mance and his goon, the half-orc angrily declares that idiot let himself get followed, and then they attack. Okay, that's development, special XP, and 3 character charts. Let's see. Okay, so 4B, Bryce Manor. The residence of Chamberlain Bryce is easy to find, whether the characters follow him from the brick or simply ask any of the townsfolk for directions. The estate is one of the best-known residences in Agnes Hold, as it was once the home of previous barons before the keep was completed over 100 years ago. The following description assumes that the characters approach the residence at night, so modify as needed. A 10-foot-high wrought iron fence surrounds the grounds of a Gothic-styled and obviously very old manse. The uneven light cast from street lanterns reveals an ornate set of double gates that open to a stone-paved approach. Despite the poor quality of the light, the landscaping is clearly elaborate and surrounds the central structure on all four sides. The home is set back some 50 feet from the gates and features an oversized front door constructed of black wood, flanked by two brightly burning lanterns. Okay. Garden tour. Brylant, the doppelganger who has replaced Bryce, has an interest in gardening, so he's taken it upon himself to make some upgrades to the Bryce estate. He has planted a number of nasty things around the grounds to help dissuade uninvited visitors. So, yeah, just descriptions of 3 different kinds of plant monsters. On the west side, they will come across the cobra flower. On the east side, they encounter the green brain, while on the front and back of the house, there are 2 patches of flower shroud. These are all monsters from Necromancer Games 5th edition foes. See the new monsters section for more information. There's a map of the mansion. So, pretty well. I do really admire the art for it, but regrettably we have to skip this so we don't have to. So we don't give away the specifics of the mansion. Working by day, if the adventurers decide to investigate the manor while Bryce is still working at the keep, adjusting encounters as necessary. The ceaseless agents will be set up as indicated, waiting for Bryce to return home in the evening. However, with the false Bryce not at home, the characters can simply find the real Bryce locked up in the closet next to the study or the office. Taking the real Bryce back to the keep causes the false Bryce to be quietly arrested under Varys' orders without the Baroness' knowledge. Any characters then can be part of the interrogation of the doppelganger Brylant. That reveals the information in the development section in the study and the office. Making an entrance, reader prays the following as characters approach the front door. 3 stone steps rise from the paved walk to an ordinary carved black wooden door, sturdy and featuring no window or peephole. The door features a handle and a detailed knocker in the shape of a manticore's head, both crafted out of a dull silvery metal. Banging the knocker accomplishes nothing other than alerting the creatures inside of the house. Wake-up call. Assuming that the characters enter the manor by way of the main doors, if they instead force the servants' door, they alter the actions of those waiting inside. Thalder, asleep in the kitchen, is woken by the forced entry, jumps to his feet, cleaver in hand and ready to meet the party. From the grand entry, Zunthan and his gang hear the noise and fight in the kitchen. Still, Song and Brindle investigate but will not engage the characters. Rather, they retreat back into the entry, rejoining Zunthan and Grin to await the adventurers. From upstairs, Brylant does not hear any of the commotion downstairs. Focused as he is on reading Bryce's thoughts. Welcome party. Once the characters have successfully opened the front door and enter the manor, reader paraphrase the following description from the grand entry. The front door opens up to a grand entry featuring dark wooden flooring, fine wood grain paneling on the walls and ceiling, an obviously expensive crystal chandelier currently unlit, and narrow tables on each side of the chamber bearing lit but banked glass lanterns. The area is approximately 20 feet wide and 3 times that length. Broad openings can be made out to the east and west side of the halls, roughly 30 feet ahead of you. In the dim far reaches of the room, you can make out a set of double doors as well as a twin set of staircases that ascend to the second floor. When the characters move forward, they encounter Brylant's welcome party. Having noticed the decrease in Azerite shipments in recent weeks, the Ceaseless Brass has sent a team to investigate. They know that Marlip has replaced Chamberlain Bryce with the doppelganger. Having found the servants' door impossible and not discovering the secret door, the Syndicate's enforcers temporarily disarmed the trap at the front door, picked the lock, and then relocked and trapped the door. They are now lying in wait for Brylant. In order to demand an accounting and explanation, the leader of the Ceaseless Gang is, Zunthan says, a male drow. Unlike many others of his kind, he left the great drow cities of the Deep Dark to pursue a more promising future elsewhere. As Grint, a human fighter, Stillsong, a half-elf cleric, and Brindle, a halfling fighter. So these were the same NPCs that we described before. Queen Vampiress is saying bye, have a good night. Yes, thank you very much for tuning in, Queen Vampiress. Alright, so... Alright, because of this poor lighting, the entire area of the grand entry is relatively obscure. As a result, the characters likely have to make advantage on wisdom perception checks to spot the Ceaseless Gang. Zunthan hides near the stairs. He steps out as the party approaches, at which point the characters see Grin stepping into view from the east, while Stillsong and Brindle emerge from the west. Despite likely having the drop on the party, Zunthan and company do not immediately attack. Rather, they assume that the characters are working for Brylant and attempt to question them about what is going on with the Azerite supply. With his short sword drawn, Zunthan stands by asking where Brylant is. The characters can attempt, checks, then... If the characters are able to successfully deceive Zunthan, the conversation might go in any number of possible directions. If someone in the party thinks to pass the characters off as other operators of the Ceaseless, Zunthan asks who ordered them to Ogden's Hold. If asked the same, he replies, Reginald. As soon as Zunthan gets any sense that the characters do not work for Brylant or Marlet, he orders his associates to attack. Knowing that failing their mission will bring harsh reprisals from the Ceaseless Syndicate, these operatives all fight to the death. Okay. Development, treasure. Okay, so then this is a overview of what's in every room. Uh-oh. I think I've experienced a full crash. Alright, so... So, I don't know what that situation is. Is that, lately I feel as though I've been having some very low issues with my RAM performance. And I do just kind of need to figure out, how I'm supposed to arrange everything in order to prevent this prevent that from falling off. Okay, so, development, special activity. Alright, so... That puts us back where we were reading. All right. Okay, Act 5, The Ambush. By now, the adventurers' activities have attracted Marlep's attention. Whether through word of their involvement in saving the Baroness or through the psychic link he shares with the creatures he has dominated, including Manst. After obtaining a general description of the characters, the Brain Gorger offers some of his hired help in Agni's Hold to capture or preferably kill him. Under orders from their captain, Drast Grimback, another of Marlep's agents, the town guard has been forbidden from intervening. The characters are on their own. This encounter can take place in any out-of-the-way area of Agni's Hold whenever point and time works. Reader paraphrase the following. As if the unrelating damp, cold, and general grime of this quarter of Agni's Hold weren't enough to make you long for your rooms in the keep, the light crowd before you suddenly parts to reveal 3 heavily armed and rough-looking individuals staring straight at you. At the same time, you sense additional figures behind you, even before you see them, boxing you in, giving you no time to even utter the word. The ruffians advance while drawing their weapons. Alright. Well, I can see from this point forward, even if I do restart my camera, it's really just going to be working in intervals, so... yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. 5 ruffians on Marlep's payroll take part in this attack, with 3 in front and 2 in behind. All of them are human, and 1 is the obvious leader. They fight relentlessly until 3 of them are down. At that point, the remaining assistants flee. If any are captured, they have nothing useful to the party, as all 5 suffer the same sort of psionic block imposed upon the operatives at the refinery. If any surviving ruffians are turned over to the town guard, the guards on duty take care of them, but have little interest in the details of why or how they were apprehended. Act 6, the Copper Hills. The region to the immediately east of Ockney's Hold is mostly flat and dotted with farmsteads, punctuated by the occasional country inn. The well-traveled East Road passes through these lands before wheeling up into the Copper Hills. While in Ockney's Hold, the characters will have learned that the mines are a 3-day ride to the east. Making inquiries with Bryce or Tabras, or simply asking around town, will reveal that ores or shipments come in approximately once a week from the mines, and that there are several permanent wagon camps along the route. Before leaving Ockney's Hold, the characters might think to question any of the wagon drivers or miners who regularly travel to the East Road, or they might run into a shipment of ore set out from the mines as they travel, as you determine. Day 1. The first day of travel east out of Ockney's Hold is uneventful, and the characters encounter many travelers as they pass a number of farmsteads. The lands east of town are evidently fertile based on the variety of crops seen. Most of the farms seem reasonably prosperous, and although travelers and farmers are understandably wary of any obviously well-armed party, they are friendly for the most part. The characters either spend the night at one of the road's frequently used wagon camps, or they can stay at the Copper Kettle or the Laughing Otyug, one of the country inns in a full day's ride out of Ockney's Hold. I don't even know what an Otyug is. There are no encounters that evening unless you desire otherwise. The second day of travel sees the party start the gentle climb towards the Copper Hills. The number of farms seen and the travelers encountered drops as the road starts its gradual ascent. The terrain also starts to change. The mostly flat range of farmland turns into isolated patches of scrub, which in turn slowly transforms into full stands of trees and then unbroken forest. At the end of the second full day to travel from Ockney's Hold, the characters will enter the Copper Hills. The evening of the second night offers only a 50% chance of an encounter while the party is camped. Alternatively, you can simply choose that an encounter happen. In either event, choose from among the following encounters. Okay, well, skip that because, that is, just some necessary player things that we can do. Okay, so first encounter, the Crying Kobold. At some point during the third day, any characters with a passive perception of 12 or higher hear an odd weeping sound faintly off to the north side of the road. Approaching north of the trees reveals a kobold sitting in a rock hunched over and weeping. If the characters talk to the kobold, it addresses them in common in a weeping yet hissing tone. So mean they are making fun of poor Grinda just because he liked the small furries and does not like killing them, not like eating them. Call me weak, call me stupid. Drive me away, Grinda all alone, so sad. Grinda is an example of one of those rare characters that think for whatever reason breaks from the evil tendencies of his kind. He's a vegetarian kobold who does not like killing and was driven away from his pack because of his odd behavior. Grinda can be of substantial help to the party. His tribe has been hired by Marlet to watch the approach of the mines and to warn of any usual or unexpected parties or individuals or creatures approaching. If asked about the mine, Grinda confirms that he knows of the human digging hole and of Marlet, the scary head-hurt snakes man. He knows that humans driving cars go in and out, and that Marlin lives deep in the mines and runs the place. Grinda tells the characters in his tribe lives near the mine's entrance tunnel, which they are ordered to watch. The kobolds run deeper into the mine in order to give off warning of anything unusual. If the characters show anything resembling kindness to Grinda, he offers to help them by leading the party to the mine entrance. Though this is no great service on its own, he also tells the characters that he can distract his fellow kobolds watching the entrance, allowing the party to enter undetected. If the characters take Grinda up, the kobold leads the party forward while urging them to stay quiet. Alright. So let me see. Approaching the mines. Either alone or with Grinda as a guide, the characters make the journey down to the vast stench road to reach the mine. I read that wrong. The characters make the journey down the last stretch of road to reach the mine entrance. When they arrive, and depending on the time of day and the available light, read or paraphrase the following. After a final turn on the rough and ill-kept road, you finally sight the mines, like the mouth of some huge and ancient toad, the entrance is wider than it is tall, and nothing but seemingly impenetrable darkness lies therein. The surrounding forest has been cut back to form a clearing in front of the entrance, around which stand a few ramshackle structures. One small building might once have been considered a storage shed or a cabin. Its door now lies off its hinges, and several holes in the roof are obvious even at a distance. Another larger and better maintained building sits a bit closer to the mine entrance. Two obviously broken down and long abandoned carts sit off one side to the entrance, while a number of hitching posts stand along the side. In the event that the characters do not gain Grinda's and they have a hard time reaching the mine entrance unchallenged. Grinda's tribe has a lair of about 100 feet left to the mine entrance, a set of small caves where a total of 20 kobolds have taken up residence. Fully half of those are ready and eager to fight at any time. If the characters move towards the mine entrance or the spot where they might have seen movement, 5 kobolds step forward from the underbrush and demand in common to know who they are. Is it just me, or does that character look like Etrigan? I was just thinking that, that probably looks a little bit more goblin than it usually does kobold, but I can also see a lot of the draconic traits of it, particularly the claws on the hands and on the feet. It is a very well-made illustration. Okay, so skip development again. Act 7, the mine. The following general conditions are found within all areas of the mine. Torches are set into brackets on the rough walls of the mine tunnels. Only about 2/3 of available torches are lit at any time, making this lighting intermittent and patchy. This results in areas of bright light and dim light, punctuated by darkness. This stuff sounds really cool. There's so many games that I want to play. Yeah, there's more games than you can play in a lifetime, but it's also just as fun in order to sit down and read the books. Am I off when it comes to that? Is that wrong to think somehow? Well, anyways, I'm Brady the RPG Cat, and I do like to read. Mine entrance. When the characters pass through the mine entrance, read or paraphrase the following. As you enter the gigantic maw of the mine entrance, your eyes quickly adjust to the dim light. Torches mounted intermittently at the walls keep some of the darkness at bay. The roughly worked stone of the vast entry chamber reflects the hard work of years of mining. A set of cart tracks starts approximately 20 feet inside the entrance, extending way to the east for approximately 100 feet before splitting in two. One set of tracks disappears from the view down a dark tunnel bearing northeast, while the other does the same down a torchlit tunnel to the southeast. A pile of broken rock near the head of the track is presumably where mine carts are dumped after being pulled out of the depths of the mines. At the head of the tracks, an array of 8-inch by 8-inch wooden beams is stacked to the ground to act as a stop to the carts brought up to the surface. The pile of rock is copper ore mixed with other rubble, all of which bears a blue hue. As the characters move further in the entrance, they catch sight of several mining carts set off to either side of the tracks. A cursory examination reveals that most of the carts are broken and abandoned, but one still seems functional. It has a yoke of sorts on one end, apparently designed to aid in pushing the cart, along with 2 sets of ropes and a harness mounted on either side, which are used by the miners to pull the carts up out of the depths. Active mining operations are taking place down the southeast tunnel. Marlip and his friends have taken up residence to the northeast. The characters have entered quietly. Then wisdom save. Check alerts to the distance on some metal objects. Let's see. So just for a half a second, I just lost my index, but everything still seems to be running. Okay. Southeast mine tunnel. When the characters explore the southeast tunnel, read or paraphrase the following. After descending several hundred feet along the serpentine mine tunnel, you hear the sounds of sharp tools striking rock grow increasingly louder. More immediately, though, from somewhere closer than you, comes a sudden grating sound of metal on metal, accompanied by labored breathing and the occasional curse. The acoustics of the tunnel allow the characters to hear the approach of 5 miners pushing and pulling an ore-laden mining cart up to the surface. The miners are engrossed in this labor-intensive and monotonous task, so that Unless the characters make an unusual amount of noise, they should be able to approach the ascending miners without being noticed. If the characters wish to ambush these miners, any reasonable attack plan gives them surprise. Even if the characters don't attack, the jittery miners are on edge because of their fear of Marlip, and they assume that any intruders who go past the kobold sentries are up to no good. They immediately drop their cart harnesses and grab their picks to attack. Runaway minecart. As they extricate themselves from the harnesses, the panicked miners forget to set the cart brake, causing the cart to roll back down into the mine laden with ore and weighing nearly 1,000 pounds. The cart can be stopped easily in the first round as an action. In the second round, it would require a DC 20 save check. If hostilities are averted, the miners plead with the adventurers for their lives. All of them are locals who took the job for the pay and know nothing about the conspiracy in Ocne's hold. They tell the characters that 8 more miners are down in the tunnels below, including the foreman, a dwarf named Thelg Delver. If the characters ask about Marlip, the miners become visibly frightened. None of the mine's rank and file workers have ever seen the mysterious overseer, knowing that he runs the mine from somewhere down the disused northeast tunnel. With fear, they also relate how a fellow miner who was insubordinate toward Thelg was dragged down to meet with Marlip and was never seen again. They cannot provide any details of what defenses might be set in the northeast tunnel, as they have not dared to enter there since Marlip took over the mine 6 months ago. Okay. Okay, another attack encounter, another development and treasure. Okay. Description of the Northeast Mine Tunnel. When the characters explore the Northeast Tunnel, read then paraphrase the following. As you descend, the dim light from the wall-mounted torches in the main tunnel disappears behind you, making the darkness ahead seem absolute. The rough-hewn patches is starkly silent, meaning even the faint sound of your carefully placed footsteps seem deafening. Okay, another ambush and some treasure. Dark Mantle Gauntlet. Coaxing the Grick, so there is an encounter, potentially with a monster called a Grick. And so, coaxing the Grick to its guarding position was not enough for Marlip as the characters continued to descend the winding northeast tunnel. They encountered the next wave of sentries a little over 300 feet down from the Grick tunnel. Near a cluster of several short dead-end tunnels, 4 dark mantles clinging to the ceiling of the passage, indistinguishable from lumps of stone. Dark mantles, probably characters that are very akin to gargoyles, that they are indistinguishable from the rocks around them. Okay, Marlip's Lair. After descending another 150 feet, the northeast tunnel terminates in a wide cavern that Marlip has claimed for his lair. He oversees both the mining operation and his machinations on Ocne's hold from this spot. Because of his telepathic links with many of the servants his party has encountered, he is most likely not only aware of the adventurer's approach, but will also know a good deal about their fighting abilities. As the characters enter the final part of the mine, read or paraphrase the following. After what seems like an endless descent through the mines, the tunnel before you unexpectedly widens, revealing the dimensions of a much larger subterranean chamber. Unlike the rest of the dark northeast tunnel, a dim light fills the cavern, coming off some sort of luminescent moss clinging to its rough stone walls. In that light, you see many crates piled against the east wall, all bearing the emblem of Ocne's hold. The ubiquitous mining track terminates here. You can also see the unexpected signs of furniture and other fixtures indicating a more formal habitation. Rising up around you suddenly, you hear a chilling sound, a sibilant and sighing chuckle, coming from somewhere deeper in the gloomy chamber. In that far distance, you can see a humanoid figure dancing along the cavern wall, its odd-shaped head ending in a cluster of long tentacles. Then suddenly, the ground before you explodes, as the 2 bestial creatures, their reptilian bodies covered with gray-black scales, emerge from the rock to attack. These creatures are Marlip's playmates, 2 cerebral stalkers. Their similarity in ecology to the brain Gorger produces the same euphoric reaction to the tasties, and the creatures have been hanging out with Marlip to feed on humanoid brains and imbibe copious amounts of powdered azurite. In fact, their consumption of the drug has made the cerebral stalkers and their masters somewhat unhinged. Okay. Though the cerebral stalkers likely surprise the characters, they refrain from attacking to move around the party in a mildly curious daze. even as Marlip capers mildly in the background. Treat both cerebral stalkers as surprise and don't roll for initiative for them until all of the adventurers have had a chance to act. Marlip does not actively engage the characters unless he is attacked or if both of his playmates are killed. And, well, there's a reason for that. Fighting under the influence. Because of the intoxicants they have imbibed, the cerebral stalkers cannot use their fear gaze or cocoon abilities, and they can't reuse their earth glide after making a dramatic entrance. As for Marlip, his stunning pulse does not recharge as it normally did, and he cannot use his enslave ability on any new creatures. Even with the Mind Gorger's combat prowess somewhat reduced, experienced players should know better than to attack the distracted Marlip before they have dealt with his playmates. If they choose to take on all three at the same time, that might as well result in a total party kill. If the players seem to be on the cusp of a tactical mistake, the choice is to warn them of their consequences is entirely up to you. Okay, resolution. Any surviving miners told the true identity of Marlip flee the mines at once pending the appointment of a new overseer. By the time the characters return to Agni's Hold, they find the town in a state of upheaval. The Baron has thrown off the effect of Marlip's enslave ability, either because the frantic Mind Gorger ended that ability, knowing that his game was up, or simply because the Baron succeeded on a saving throw. The characters will now have a chance to be with the Baron in the next adventure. So ends the Brain Gorger's appetite. And so this is the new monster section. I think, I believe, we have a little bit more than 40 minutes left in the stream. It would just be interesting to go through the new monster section. Alright. The Brain Gorger. Brain Gorgers are among the most feared denizens of the Deep Dark. They are ruthlessly immoral and live to feed upon the psychic energy and the brains of other sentient beings. While Brain Gorgers will work together to protect the colony or city, they're not commonly encountered alone. They do occasionally interact with other psionic or psychic feeding creatures. They regard all other sentient races as food sources, suitable only for dominating and consuming. Brain Gorgers are not much for physical combat, vastly preferring to order their minions to attack while using their devastating psionic and spell abilities at a distance. Medium Aberration, Lawful Evil, Challenge level 10, 5900 XP, Armor class 16, Hit points 84, saving throws, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. Skills Arcana, Deception, Insight, Perception, Persuasion, Stealth, and Survival. Senses Dark Vision. Has Magic Resistance. The Brain Gorger has advantage on saving throws against spells or other magical effects. Innate Spellcasting, Psionics. The Brain Gorger's innate spellcasting ability is Intelligence. It can immediately cast the following spells: Detect Thoughts, Levitate, Hypnotic Pattern, Dominate Monster, Dominate Person, Plane Shift, and Spellcasting, 10th level Spellcaster, level Cantrips at Will, Blade Ward, Dancing Lights, Mage Hand, and Shocking Grasp. At first level, Detect Magic, Disguise Self, Shield, Sleep. Second level, Blur, Invisibility, Rave Enfeeblement. Third level, Clairvoyance, Lightning Bolt, Sending. Fourth level, Confusion and Dimension Door. And fifth level, Telekinesis and Wall of Force. Actions. Tentacles are melee weapon attack, +9 to hit, reach 5 feet to hit one creature. If the target is medium or smaller, it is grappled. Brain Gorge. One incapacitated humanoid grappled by the Brain Gorger will do 60, 10d10 plus 5 piercing damage, which is a lot. I don't even think I need to tell you that. If this damage reduces the target up to 0, the Brain Gorger kills the target by opening up his skull and feasting on the target's brain. Stunning Pulse, the Brain Gorger emits a wave of mind-rending magical power in a 60-foot cone. Each creature must succeed DC 17 Intelligence or take 23 4d8 plus 5 psychic damage and be stunned for 1 minute. Enslave, the Brain Gorger targets one creature it can see within 30 feet. The target must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw or be magically charmed by the Brain Gorger until the Brain Gorger dies. So, even though Devin says Brain Skinner. Oh, well, close. Brain Gorger. Yes. We're dealing with gorging, not skinning. We are sucking. We are not scraping and licking. So, as imposing as this monster, the final boss version of this monster was severely limited to the fact that they were tripping on all of the crystals in the mine, and so did not have those last two very debilitating powers. You know, but of course you can rank that up if you're playing this at a slightly higher level. That's perfectly okay. Scrape and lick. Yes. Scrape and lick. 5th edition foes, monsters by Necromancer Games. So I think these were there's new illustrations of these monsters, but I believe these monsters were actually created by a different set of game writers, and so they're included here to be special monsters in this set. But at some point later, I might have to look up Necromancer Games so I can see whether or not they have a fully fledged Lovecraftian abomination set. And also that would be really cool to read for the stream. A cerebral stalker is a carnivorous predator that lies in wait just below the surface of the ground for an unsuspecting victim to pass over or near it. When it detects prey with its tremor sense, the stalker bursts through the ground in a shower of rock and earth, seizes and cocoons its victims, and disappears into the ground to devour its victim's brain at its leisure. Companions of the cerebral stalker's intended victim are held at bay with its fear-inducing gaze, but the real terror is reserved for who the creature drags below ground, where they are destined to have their skulls chewed open and their brains devoured. Dragonite Fishman. Love it. Medium Aberration, Chaotic Evil, Challenge Level 5, Armor Class 16, Hit Points 85, Perception plus 8, Senses Dark Vision, Tremor Sense, Passive Perception, Multi-Attack, Bite and Claw. Other traits, Cocoon. As an action, a cerebral stalker can cocoon a grappled foe with sticky webbing. The webs completely encase the victim, excluding the top of the victim's head, its eyes, and its nose. The cocoon victim is restrained and anchored by webs to the cerebral stalker's body. A cocoon creature can, as an action, attempt to break free with a successful DC 20 check or a Dex Acrobatics check. The webbing can be cut open enough for a trapped character to escape with 8 points of slashing damage against AC 10. And then, Consume Brain. Once it has its victim underground, it begins gnawing on the victim's head, rapidly chewing through bone and tissue, dealing 2d8 plus 4 points of piercing damage each round. When the victim dies, the cerebral stalker reaches its goal, the victim's brain, which it promptly devours. A victim slain in this manner reanimates in 1d4 rounds as a zombie. Typically, the cerebral stalker tosses them back up to the surface of the ground so their traveling companions can witness the reanimation and deal with their newly undead friend. Zombies created in this manner are under no one's control. And Earth Glide. A cerebral stalker can glide through any sort of natural earth or stone as easily as a fish swims through water. Wow, you were right on the nose with that one. Its gliding leaves no sign of its passage or a hint of its presence to creatures that don't possess tremor sense. It can bring cocoon victims along with it, but they have no special capacity for breathing while underground. Getting into the ground is not as easy for the cerebral stalker as moving underground. It must spend 4 moves on 4 rounds without dashing, melding into the ground. On the first round, the creature sinks to its knees, on the second round to its waist, on the third round to its neck, and on the fourth round, the stalker and any creature it has cocooned disappear completely underground. Melding into the ground does not provoke an opportunity attack. If a cerebral stalker is grappled while sinking into the ground, it must win a strength contest against its grapplers to sink farther that round. The spell magic or a similar spell cast on a sinking cerebral stalker paralyzes it, the same as a hold monster spell. The spell where the cerebral stalker sank radiates magic for 1 hour. Okay, so these were the plants that were in the Baron's Assistant's Menagerie. Cobra flower. Cobra flowers draw nutrients from sunlight, soil, and water, but they also enjoy a diet of insects, rodents, animals, and occasionally humanoids if they can catch one. These plant creatures can be found nesting in forests, and they sometimes take up residence near small population centers to feed on humanoids who wander into their reach. Many a child's or an adult's disappearance can be attributed to a cobra flower. When it detects a living creature, it remains motionless until its prey is within 5 feet. It then spreads its leafy hood, opens its flowery bulb, and bites its prey, injecting acidic enzymes to break down and ingest the victim. Challenge level 2, armor class 11, hit points 51, speed is 5 feet, passive perception is 11, tremor sense is 30 feet. Vulnerable to necrotic damage, immune to psychic damage. Conditioned immunities are exhaustion, frightened, stunned, and unconscious. And then its only attack is bite for 1d10 plus 3 piercing damage plus 1 for 8 acid damage, which is still a very serious bite. And the target is grappled. This attack automatically hits if the target is already grappled by the cobra flower. Okay. The green brains. Green brains are plant creatures grown by mechanids and other benevolent races with aptitudes for magically altering and breeding plants. Green brains are reasonably intelligent, psychically potent, and entirely free of personal ambitions or thoughts of freedom. Traits that make them useful to their masters for supervising and overseeing the activities of mindless or semi-intelligent captures. Often the supervised species will be other plant creatures, but a green brain can also supervise brutish humanoids and other non-plant creatures of low intelligence. Feed me, Brainy. Feed me. Feed me. We've all seen the movie. Don't feed the plants. The telepathy of green brains allows them to project mental commands and telecommunication at a deep enough level that the brain's demands are clear even to mindless creatures such as oozes or monstrous plants. Indeed, the less intelligent the recipient, the stronger the green brains hold over it. Large plant, challenge level 1, armor class 12, hit point 17. Languages are telepathy, senses true sight, actions are psychic bolt. If the target makes a successful, hits for 12, 2d8 plus 3 psychic damage or half damage if the target makes a successful DC 13 intelligence saving throw. The Flower Shroud. The Flower Shroud is a flowering plant that spreads across the ground and most other surfaces, same as any creeping plant. Its roots are extremely shallow. However, it can pull them out of the ground in only a few seconds and use them like tiny legs to literally creep across the ground and any other surface that has a plant that it can cling to. They infest pleasant forest glades, but also grow along game trails where movement off the trail is difficult. They move so slowly that most animals can't escape from the danger by simply walking away, but their tendrils can lash out to a surprising distance. Unlike adventurers traveling through the wilderness, flower shrouds never need to stop to rest. They present their greatest danger at night when travelers have made camp and then gone to sleep. Then flower shrouds can creep into a campsite in order to attack sleeping prey. Large plant unaligned, armor class 11, hit points 19. Innocent appearance. Attacks multi-attack with thorn strands plus 3 to hit, reach 15, 1 target. Hits for 4, 1d6 plus 1 piercing damage. And the target has to make DC 11 Constitution saving throw or be affected by Shroud Bloom poison. The target falls prone and goes into convulsions, lasting 1d6 rounds unless the poison effect is ended early with magic. During that time, that character is incapacitated and takes 1d4 poison damage at the start of each of its turns. And this is the Gazetteer. So the Gazetteer just kind of provides descriptions for several of these settings in order to, if anybody wanted to use the same setting for a more universal role play, then they could rely on this information to describe how how some of these areas how these areas exist. Okay, Agni's Hold, population 2,000, lawful neutral, 80% human, 15% dwarf, and others are 5%. Agni's Hold is an old walled town whose founding dates travel. Let me start over. Agni's Hold is an old walled town whose founding dates travels back at least 1,000 years. A rural hope, it serves as the seat and the last major trade center of the barony of Rand. This land serves the surrounding countryside, are reasonably tame and dotted with farmsteads spread across rolling terrain. I feel the need to tell you that traveling was not a part of that entire paragraph. I was just adding that in there. Originally located on the bank at the east of the Oriana River, the original town expanded over centuries to occupy a good deal of the west bank as well. Agnes Hold owes its existence to nearby Copper Hills, some 3 days' ride to the east. The Copper Hills are rich with copper ore, which can be cheaply shipped down through the easily navigable Oriana River. Based on the wealth of the mines, Agnes Hold grew from a hamlet to become the seat of the barony. The last 50 years have brought a new level of prosperity to Agnes Hold as the process of creating azurite, a semi-precious stone from copper ore, was perfected. This new technology has helped transform this small backwater mining town into something resembling a civilized settlement. The production of azurite has also meant the presence of more skilled miners in the area, as well as related artisans such as refiners and jewelers seeking their own personal fortunes. Agnes Hold features a central keep that houses the household of Ron's hereditary barony. The keep is relatively new, completed just over 100 years ago. It is built entirely on a small island in the Oriana River and is accessible by 2 bridges: the Keep Bridge, connecting to the center of the east side of town, and a smaller North Bridge. The Well Keep has its own central courtyard and stables and is the residence of the Baron and Baroness, their household, the Baron's men, the Keep's private guard, and most of the Keep's servants and staff. The current Baron is Oliver Renison. He heads a small council of hand-picked advisors that makes out justice, resolves disputes, creates local laws, and sets various taxes and tariffs. As part of his rule, the Baron is responsible for maintaining and supplying the town guard, as well as for maintaining the town walls and gates, the central well, the island bridges, and the other public works. Among those works is Eldon's Bridge, easily the greatest engineering work in the region. It connects the larger eastern side of Agnes Hold to the smaller west side districts and the majority of the area's overland trading routes. The Oriana River is a slow-flowing river running generally northeast to southeast, approximately 60 feet across at Agnes Hold, and running some 20 feet deep. Although the area does get some snow in the winter, that season is generally mild and the river remains open year-round. The primary crossing point of the Oriana is Eldon's Bridge, which carries plentiful heavy cart and cargo traffic. The smaller Lover's Bridge, located south of the keep, is used mostly by locals and designed primarily for foot and carriage traffic. Agnes Hold features the unusual services that one would expect for a town of its size, as well as a range of services not normally found outside of larger settlements. A central market stands not far from the keep, featuring open-air stalls vending a wide variety of goods in the summer and on other fair weather days. The agricultural products of the region are heavily represented here. North of the keep and on the east bank of the river sits the largest building in town excepting the keep itself. The ore refinery, referred to as the Brick, is where raw copper ore is prepared for shipment out of town and where most of the area's azurite is processed. The refinery has its own set of docks and is powered by a water wheel turned by the gentle flow of the Oriana River. The locals turn a blind eye to both the foul-smelling water that drains from the refinery to the river and the noxious fumes that escape from vents on top of the building. Some of the most notable shops are the Baron's Favor, the nicest inn in town. The Baron's Favor is owned by the Pulver family and has been for many years. The Copper Cup Tavern, clean and comfortable. The Copper Cup is the largest and best-known tavern in Agnes Hold. Zan's Trading Emporium, located near the east of Eldon's Bridge. Zan's is the usual stopping and starting place for incoming and outgoing trade caravans. The Oryx High Inn, old and ramshackle inn located near the west side docks. While other parts of Agnes Hold might have been modernized, the Oryx Eye clings to the town's frontier mining roots. Zert's Edge, Zert, the male dwarf fighter, level 4. A bit of an eccentric who has quite the reputation as a smith. Zert is the go-to guy in town for weapons and armor, known for the high quality of his work and how well his weapons hold their sharp edge. He also takes commissions of other fine metalwork. The Capering Goblin Tavern, located in a converted and remodeled slaughterhouse. The Capering Goblin has 2 features that set it apart from other taverns in town. The first is the basement, which allows for 2 separate bar areas. The second is the inn's dueling clavichords. On most evenings, performers take requests from the crowd, making for a festive sing-along atmosphere. Philip Sundries, the general store. Philip Brassman, a human male, is a former caravan leader who decided that the coin coming into Agni's Hold from the Azerite trade was too much to pass up. So he bought a storefront and set up shop. Heavy on mining supplies, Philip Sundries contains an impressive collection of wares, from adventuring gear to household goods. The Iron Ingot Tavern, located along the main road leading to Ellen's Bridge. The Iron Ingot is known as the locals' hangout. Though not fancy, it is reasonably clean and run by a retired miner named Anbar Scree, a male dwarf fighter who is level 2. The Mother Temple. The minions of the Mother are medicine, fertility, and agriculture. The sprawling old abbey is run by Princess Madeline Summers, female human cleric, level 6, acolyte background, who oversees approximately a dozen other clerics. The Mother serves Agni's Hold as a hospital as well as a place of worship. Potions of healing are available for purchase. The Sun Temple. The domains of the Sun are commerce, industry, and law. The Sun is recently refurbished complex comprised of several courtyards surrounded by several smaller structures, all connected to the main hall. Cleric Devin Ornton, human male cleric, level 5 acolyte, heads this temple. The Sun acts as the Regent's Bank, performing basic accounting services for fees in addition for a place of worship. The Phantasmal Parlor specialty store, located near the road near to the Keep's North Bridge. The Phantasmal Parlor is a sign of the overall cultural and economic growth of Agni's Hold. Run by the outrageous Serge Blick, this shop features fashionable clothing, perfumes, and even a confectionery encounter. Serge is extravagant and an insatiable gossip monger. The Phantasmal Parlor is popular among the growling affluent class of Agni's Hold. And Copper Dreams Specialty Store, a jewelry store well known for its wide selection of Azerite set jewelry. The husband and wife team of Merle and Eva Hantak runs the shop. Eva, the female half-elf sorcerer, does crafting, including designing and fabricating all the settings. Merle, the human fighter level 4, helps run the business and provide necessary security. So this page is just a legal appendix, describes the open game license. Agni's Hold is, this is just a very broad map of the city, and I do believe, this is like results in like 2 or 3 different color pages that are at the back end of this, which, if you're gonna have any color pages at all, it probably should be here. And this is the map of the copper mines, just a wider map of the copper mines, and then this is the back cover. So I didn't expect this to be particularly long, simply because I knew it was a single level 1 adventure. But nevertheless, we did manage to get through it, and I'm very happy about that. Because as you know, when I was actually reading Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, I would often get hung up on a single manual that would probably take 7 or 8 2-hour periods to completely run through. So this makes for a decent change of pace when it comes to that. OS Devon says, it's a nice adventure. I like it. I'm glad you like it, OS Devon, because we're probably going to have another book from Gamehold Publishing during next week's stream, and it's more than likely going to be doing that on Friday as well. So, anyways, thank you everybody once again for tuning in to Brainy the RPG Cat. I remain Brainy the RPG Cat. Thank you. Let me see. Thank you to GreatMedia.Games for low prices on inexpensive TCG single cards. Visit GreatMedia.Games, use the code 10Infinity at checkout for 10% off your online purchase. For 10% off your online purchase. That's the way I was supposed to say that. And also, thank you to, thank you very much to Well of the Worlds, Rem Alternus Productions, and Mobius Worlds Publishing. Please take an opportunity to put your name on the mailing list and be ready for the Well of the Worlds Kickstarter, which is going to be coming this April the 4th. Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in. I would like to take a moment and I would like to do a raid. Let's see. just bounced a little bit. Up. Well, I managed to get to here, but at the expense of crashing my webcam again. Alright, let's see, who would like to visit? Feel really good about that. So right now, Jay Dockleton is on his channel. He's doing a just chatting stream, but he's also doing tarot card readings along with Kai VR. So let's go ahead and let's pay a visit to that. Alright, everybody. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I will be back this Saturday, and I believe I'm going to be playing Pokemon TCG Live. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Have a good night, everybody. And thank you very much for watching.